Okay, so Jabra are back with their new Enhance Pro 30s, available exclusively in Costco US. And in all honesty, I don't know why more people aren't talking about them. In my opinion, the Enhance Pro 20s, which were their 2023 model, left some room for improvement. So it's exciting to see that there is a brand new design, there is a new sound, and a whole host of new features for improved speech understanding in background noise. But also, there's a new price. We'll get there. The big question is, what are Philips, Sennheiser or Rexton going to do now that Jabra have superseded their Enhance Pro 20s with not one, but two new fully loaded hearing aids? These things are AI powered, they are Auracast ready, and one of the smallest hearing aids currently on the market. First of all, we have the RIE13, which features a multifunction button and uses a size 13 disposable battery that you'll need to change roughly once a week. Secondly, there's the Micro RIE, which Jabra are boasting is the world's smallest hearing aid featuring artificial intelligence. It sports a push button rather than the multifunction button that we see on the disposable battery version, and houses a lithium-ion rechargeable battery, providing up to 30 hours of battery life per charge, which is a 25% improvement in battery life versus the Enhance Pro 20s. You'll notice that there's still a typical receiver and canal style of hearing aid, meaning that the hearing aid itself sits behind your ear with a thin wire sending information and energy down to the speaker which sits inside your ear canal. Now I know that there'll be a small percentage of you today that are watching this video interested in knowing about custom made versions of these hearing aids, so an in-the-ear version. But I have to say, to date, there is currently no word on the release of one. And if history is anything to go by, then it's pretty unlikely too. Saying that, I do personally try to encourage as many patients as possible that certainly come through my doors to opt for a receiver and canal style over an in-the-ear style. Very simply put, because it will give you access to far more features when you go with a behind-the-ear hearing aid, which we'll come on to shortly. As far as physical developments go, the microphones have also had a redesign which realistically isn't going to be that big in terms of improving the sound, but should have a positive impact in terms of robustness, meaning that the new microphone covers will prevent debris ingress and can be changed by you at home or in clinic rather than needing to be sent back to Jabra HQ if there's a fault with them. And of course, I am all for anything that makes your experience with hearing aids far more seamless. I've got a couple more physical developments that are worth running through now, and then I'll run through some of Jabra's new features. So, the charger. Well, the charger is a beast. It's great, but in my opinion, it still needs a little bit of work. As I mentioned earlier, a single charge will give you a full 30 hours of battery life, which is reduced to around 25 hours if you utilize the streaming features, which I'll come on to in more detail later on in today's video. As you would hope, Costco provide these hearing aids with the premium portable charger, meaning that it has a built-in lithium-ion battery, which is great if you're away from home and don't always want to worry about having access to a power source. There is a downside to this though, and it may just be me being picky, but it is heavy, it's huge, and for its sole purpose being travel, it's not really built with travel in mind. And I think the Jabra are missing a trick in my opinion, and there will definitely be a market for a charger with an extra day of charge, not necessarily 3 to 5. And it could be built a lot smaller in that case. Just something to bear in mind if there's anybody from Jabra HQ watching who could have an influence on this. Now, normally Costco are pretty limited in terms of colours, so I'm pleased to share on this occasion that you have the option of sparkling silver, sand, bronze and deep black to choose from. Each option is matted so they don't tend to catch the light, and I would recommend that you go for something that matches your hair colour as it will be far more discreet. Now, for those of you that haven't watched my videos before, just to give you an idea of the format of my videos, this video today is a launch video sharing everything that there is to know so far about this brand new technology. But I'm pretty unique in this space, in the YouTube space, in the fact that you won't see a detailed review from me until they've been in a few patients' ears and I can offer legitimate feedback other than my own opinion and the opinion of the manufacturers. So if you want to see the detailed version of this video, then you'll find the subscribe button somewhere down here. And so it's worth a press if you want to be notified as soon as the detailed version is released. Saying that, there is still masses of content to cover today. So here's a list of the features built into both of these new models. And you'll recognize some old and some new, like the likes of the 17 channels of warp compression, DFS Ultra 3, and a host of noise reduction settings. More importantly, you will see that there are some major differences, other than the battery power, between the Micro RIE and the RIE13, and these are around the tap control and noise reduction and speech understanding features. So make sure that you talk to your hearing aid dispenser about which is the most appropriate for you. If you want my opinion, I would personally go for the rechargeable option every single time. Now, in all technology, that's not just hearing aids now, there are limits to the computational power of a single chip. And so what do you do if you hit that limit? Well, Jabra have followed the likes of Resound and Phonak, and they've added a second chip, introducing their first dual chip architecture, which means that this new technology is 17 times more efficient than the Enhanced Pro 20s and achieves a whopping 4.9 trillion operations per day, which is 12 zeros in case you were wondering. So the first chip, the 360 chip, features what Jabra describe as the industry's most accurate real-time environmental classification system, which constantly scans your environment and adjusts itself to your specific listening situation. So in reality, the hearing aids activate the right features at the right time. And if you think about it, it's really what you want from a hearing aid that knows if you're in noise, quiet, watching the television, etc, etc. And then running on top of the 360 chip, acting as a filter to create a greater contrast between unwanted noise and speech, Jabra have their deep neural network, which is a form of artificial intelligence. Now, Jabra are utilizing this DNN, which has been trained using 13 million sentences and 3.9 million sound parameters, may I add, to power multiple new features, all aimed around better speech understanding in background noise. The holy grail for anybody out there with hearing loss. Now, they're calling their AI noise reduction feature Intelligent Focus. Their directional beamforming feature is called Clear Focus, which is their unique, kind of unique feature, which is designed to enhance speech in front of you. And then finally, their 360 all-round feature, which is designed specifically to maintain your spatial awareness, which for any of you non-techie folks out there means it's aiming to keep you connected with the sounds in the world around you, whilst simultaneously ensuring that they're just not that bit too much intrusive, so they don't have too much of a negative impact in you hearing the person that's in front of you. So I think it's safe to say that we've seen a huge amount of developments over their predecessors. I know they sound great, but the big question is, are these hearing aids suitable for you? Yes, as long as you have a hearing care provider that knows how to get the best out of them. What I mean by that is they'll need to be physically adjusted in 2 different ways to be able to meet your needs. Of course, that's on top of adjusting them acoustically. Both the Micro RIE and the RIE13 are compatible with a range of different receivers, meaning that your hearing care provider can physically change the power level to suit your hearing loss. In reality, this means that whether you have a mild, moderate, severe, or profound hearing loss, they could technically be suitable for you. So if your hearing loss falls within the grey shaded area of any of these graphs, then that's technically the most appropriate speaker for you and your hearing loss. As well as changing the power of that receiver, the way that the hearing aids are coupled to your ears can be personalised too, with a selection of medical grade silicone domes to choose from or various custom tips. Custom tips do come in at an extra cost in Costco, but if you need them, please, I'm begging you, do not look to save the cash. It's something like $40 per ear off the top of my head. Now I'm saying this because I want to put a bit of emphasis on this part of today's video more than anything else that I'm covering today. As believe it or not, the tip on the end of your hearing aid is incredibly important, and all too often I see hearing aid users lost in online forums looking for guidance on the most appropriate tip for them. And if that's you, I feel incredibly sorry for you, as that's the job of your hearing care professional, not you. The wrong tip can completely transform the way that your hearing aid sounds, from how much clarity it provides, how well it copes in background noise, how good it sounds when you're streaming, for example, and also comfort. And I will always try, personally, to put a custom tip on as many people's ears as possible, well, as many hearing aid users' ears as possible when they're appropriate. Hopefully, by empowering you with this information, this will get you to ask the right questions regarding your configuration when you go to see your hearing aid dispenser. Yes, you can believe your eyes. You did indeed, and you should see here somewhere, Auracast on that list of features built into the Enhanced Pro 30s. But I guess you're tired of me talking about it in all of my other videos now, and I'm tired of talking about it too. Because whilst every manufacturer is boasting that they've built it into their latest technology, yes, that's you, Oticon, Philips, Starkey, Widex, Signia, Rexton, Sennheiser, Phonak, or anybody else that I've missed, Jabra are the only manufacturers, along with Resound, to have actually rolled it out. And it works. I'm not joking. I've used it. I've even got an Auracast transmitter built into our clinic, which means that the brand new Auracast Assistant, which is built into the Jabra Enhanced Pro app, lets you share and switch between broadcast audio streams with a very simple press of a button. Meaning that if you want to tune into an airport announcement, a museum presentation, or even a concert, this will be easier than ever. So if you want to try Auracast technology out, come and visit me in clinic. Auracast works alongside the regular phone connectivity that we saw in the Enhanced Pro 20s. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the advantages of connecting your phone to your hearing aids, this is via Bluetooth, it's worth knowing about the two main bonuses, the two main benefits, let's say. So firstly, it allows you to stream any audio from your phone to your hearing aid. So if you're taking a phone call, watching me on YouTube, or listening to the radio, music, or a podcast, the sound will be wirelessly sent from your phone to your hearing aids, and of course taking into account your hearing test results too. The second advantage is that you'll have access to the Jabra Enhanced Pro app, which gives you access to a ton of features which have been inherited from their previous model. And I'm talking about the sound enhancer, tinnitus manager, the check my fit feature, to the live assist and remote fine tuning, all of which I'll cover in great detail in my full review of these hearing aids down the line. Price wise, these are available in Costco for $1,699.99, which is $100 dearer than the Enhanced Pro 20s and should be available in all Costco's from May 2025. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Back again. All right, there's no need to guess. I'll tell you. It's Sonova, and Costco USA have opened some, but not all, of their warehouse doors for the release of the Sennheiser Sonite R hearing aids. And I'm going to help you to figure out if they're the right hearing aids for you. Should I mention it or not? I think so. Yeah, I should. Okay. So back in September 2022, out of the blue, Costco discontinued the sale of their Kirkland Signature 10 hearing aids due to reliability issues. Now, the details on this breakdown of the relationship between Sonova and Costco were never published. However, rumor has it that it was down to the hearing aids having rechargeability issues. Since then, we've seen Costco introduce the Philips HearLink 9050, Jabra Enhanced Pro 20, and the Rexton Reach. However, something's been missing, something from our Swiss friends, and in a recent surprise announcement from Sennheiser, whose consumer division was purchased by Sonova in 2022, you'll now be able to purchase their Sonite R hearing aid from Costco. Now, you'll be pleased to know that whilst the information out there is pretty sparse on these hearing aids, I have personally looked under every audiological rock to not only find out all of the juicy details, but also which of Sonova's or even Phonak's hearing aids these compared to the most, starting with their physical setup now. At the time of making this video, Sennheiser are releasing a single receiver canal model called the Sonite R for $1,599.99 for the pair. And as is the tradition with Sonova, the R label means it's rechargeable, housing a lithium-ion battery which should deliver up to 18 hours of use on a single 3-hour charge. In true Costco fashion, these hearing aids are only available in a few choices of colors, and you'll be able to choose from 3 typical Sennheiser color palettes, from silver and black to graphite and black or sandalwood and black, with the color part being matted so they won't catch the light.
From my experience of fitting hearing aids, most patients will tend to match their hair color. So my advice to you is that if your hair doesn't match one of these three colors, head over to Costco's aisle 7 and buy yourself some hair dye. Now, I've got some bad news. I'm sorry to say that as far as availability goes, it looks like these hearing aids will only be available in a select few warehouses. In fact, around about 100 of the US's 600 warehouses altogether. There has been no confirmation on which they are or the reasons that specific ones have been chosen, but I will update you on this channel as soon as I have any more information on this subject. So, as mentioned earlier, the Sonite Rs are a receiver-in-canal style of hearing aid. You'll notice the microphones here and here for both front and rear pickup, which allows the hearing aids to detect what's in front of you versus what's behind, and deliver the most appropriate sound for your specific listening environment. And I'll cover this in a lot more detail throughout today's video. You'll see here that Sennheiser have stuck to their guns and maintained a rocker switch on their design, and I mention this because some manufacturers nowadays have recently moved from this setup to a single push button option. In my opinion, this is a mistake because I find that some patients like the flexibility of being able to physically adjust their hearing aids as well as via the app. These buttons are essentially soft keys and can be used to turn the hearing aids both on and off, to adjust the volume or programs, and answer or hang up phone calls. Finally, you'll see here the receiver wire which feeds energy and information to the speaker that sits inside your ear. For those of you with concerns about the Kirkland Signature 10's previous battery issues, I have it on good authority that any issues regarding rechargeability from old technology are indeed history. So they're nothing that you need to be concerned about with today's new technology. Building on that, I'm also keen to understand how you as an audience feel about rechargeability though. From a recent survey that I put out there on YouTube, around 66% of Hearing Tracker's viewers preferred rechargeable technology, leaving 33% of you that are still fans of disposable battery hearing aids. So I'm curious to know which camp you personally fall into, rechargeable or disposable batteries. What makes your preference? Is it convenience? Is it security or reliability? I'd love you to let me know in the comments beneath today's video. For those of you that are in the 33% and would not be interested in this technology unless they bring out a disposable battery version, don't hold your breath. If I think about Sonova's current stance on batteries, they are all about rechargeability. So I personally think they'll be sticking with their guns on this one and just releasing a rechargeable battery option. Whilst I'm on the subject of batteries, I should definitely give their charger a mention too. Now, Sennheiser have opted for contact charging with this technology, which I think was a positive move, as the industry has seen some reliability issues with induction chargers in particularly warm climates. So this is why you'll notice on the bottom of these hearing aids 2 titanium pins, and this essentially means that when they're dropped into the charger, there are built-in magnets that put them or pull them into position, and you can guarantee that the charging contacts are met. But what I will say is with all of the contact chargers on the market, do make sure that those wells are completely free of dust or debris, as this has been known in the past to stop hearing aids from charging. It's also worth you knowing that the charger is powered using a USB-C cable and needs to be permanently plugged into the mains in order for it to work, as the charger itself doesn't contain a rechargeable lithium-ion battery like some of Sonova's other latest technology. How do I make durability exciting? You'll be delighted to know that Sennheiser have followed the industry standard when it comes to reliability, and this technology has an IP68 rating, with Sennheiser boasting that it's both water and dust resistant and survives. Wait, they really say survives? Okay. It will survive in continuous immersion of 1 meter of fresh water for 60 minutes plus 8 hours in a dust chamber. So they should be perfect for handling normal day-to-day life without you needing to worry about them becoming damaged from the elements. As far as suitability goes, these are the fitting ranges for the Sonite Rs. So whether you have a mild, moderate, severe or profound hearing loss, they can technically be adapted for you by changing the power of the receiver between an S, M, P or UP version. each of which is engineered for specific levels of hearing loss. In practical terms, the S receiver is for those of you with a mild to moderately severe hearing loss, offering a peak output of 111 decibel SPL and up to 47 decibels of gain, and hosts a frequency range of 100 Hz to 8 kHz. The M receiver is for those of you with a moderate to severe hearing loss, delivering a maximum output of 114 dB SPL and 51 decibels of gain, again with a frequency range of 100 Hz to 8 kHz. Then coming on to the P receiver, which is built for those of you with a severe hearing loss, pushing out up to 122 dB SPL with 59 decibels of gain and supporting frequencies from 100 Hz to 6,300 Hz. And then finally, Sennheiser offer their UP receiver, which is specifically designed for those of you out there with a profound hearing loss, boasting an impressive 132 dB SPL and 71 decibels of gain, with frequencies extending up to 6.1 kHz. I have to be honest now, this is something that your hearing aid dispenser should recommend specifically for your hearing loss, and it's not normally something that I'll go into detail on with my patients, because if I choose the wrong one, the hearing aid simply won't work. So it's their job to choose the correct one for you. As well as changing the receiver, the way that the hearing aids are coupled to your ears can be personalized too, with a selection of medical-grade silicone domes to choose from or various custom tips. Custom tips do come at an extra cost in Costco, and if you need them, please don't look to save the cash. They come in for something like an extra $40 per ear and can make a huge difference to the way that hearing aids sound. So much so that I want to put a bit of emphasis on this part of today's video more than anything else that I'm covering today, as believe it or not, the tip on the end of your hearing aid is incredibly important, and all too often I see hearing aid users lost in online forums looking for guidance on the most appropriate tips for them. And I feel for you if that's you, because it's not your job, it's the job of your hearing care professional. The wrong tip can completely transform the way that your hearing aid sounds, from how much clarity it provides, how well it copes in background noise, how good it sounds when you're streaming, and of course the comfort of the thing. And I will personally always try and put a custom tip on as many ears as possible when they're appropriate. Hopefully, this little bit of information will help you to ask the right questions regarding the configuration of your hearing aids dispenser's recommendations. At the time of making this video, the Sonite R is available in a single premium technology level, with access to the following features. Now, when running through this feature table, which I'll go into detail on shortly, it stood out to me that these features appear to align closely with the Phonak Paradise or Phonak Lumity series, particularly their rechargeable receiver in canal models, such as the Audeo Lumity R and the Audeo Paradise. So I'm sorry if you guys were hoping that these were more likely to be the Costco version of the Audeo Sphere Infinios, but it looks like that's not going to be the case. Now, it's worth me pointing out that today's video is a launch video with the view to introduce you to this new technology. However, if you're interested in my full review, make sure that you subscribe to be notified when I go into masses of detail in a few months' time. Quite unique to Sonova, the Sonite Rs use classic Bluetooth, specifically Bluetooth 4.2, with the main advantage over Philips, Rexton and ReSound being that you'll be able to connect to any phone with Bluetooth streaming capabilities. It doesn't matter if it's old or new, smartphone or otherwise, and it will even work with any landline phone that has built-in Bluetooth too, unlike any of the other hearing aid manufacturers that you've got access to in Costco. Sennheiser's integration supports a wide range of audio codecs, ensuring high-quality streaming regardless of the source, and also supports dual streaming, allowing you to connect to multiple devices simultaneously, which again isn't possible with any other manufacturer. Now, on top of that, this technology also supports hands-free calling, which is pretty limited with other hearing aid manufacturers, meaning that you can keep your phone in your pocket and the microphones on the hearing aids will pick up your voice and send it to the person that you're on the call with. Having access to Bluetooth also gives you access to an app if you're on an Android or Apple smartphone, with the Easy Line remote control app mirroring Sonova's other apps, which I personally feel is one of the most intuitive out there, and can either be as complicated or as simple as you like. What I mean by that is if you want to simply use it to adjust the volume, mute the hearing aids, or change the programs, then the home screen is perfect for you. You can, however, track your steps, Plus, if you really want to get into the weeds, you can adjust the graphic equalizer, noise settings, and speech focus on these hearing aids too. And if you really wanted to, you can even create your own programs to come back to later. If, on the other hand, you would prefer, you can make adjustments using the button on the back of the hearing aid, which, like I mentioned earlier, can be personalized to your preferences. However, not only that, these hearing aids also sport a pretty control tap control feature, which is a spin-off of the built-in motion sensors that I'll be talking to you about shortly. What does that mean from your point of view? In practical terms, with a swift double tap of your ear, you can answer phone calls, plus you can even activate Siri or Google Assist without needing to get your phone out of your pocket. Of course, it would be crazy if I didn't talk about sound quality when talking about hearing aids. And Sennheiser are most proud of their smart technology and the machine learning automatic program built into this tech, which will adapt to your listening environment automatically and categorizes the world into 7 different listening situations. The hearing aids should then seamlessly transition between these settings, which are individually adjusted by your hearing aid dispenser. And this is unique to any of Costco's other offerings. These environments include echo, car, loud noise, music, comfort, noise, and quiet. And in practice, this means that in a noisy restaurant, the Speech Focus 2.0 directional beamforming microphones should zone in on the person speaking in front of you, whilst reducing distracting background chatter. Whereas in a quiet office situation, the sonite should reduce the amplification to deliver a more natural soundscape, preventing overamplification of ambient noises. And then when you're walking outdoors, the motion sense feature detects your movement and adjusts the sound processing for optimal awareness of your surroundings. As far as I'm aware, there is a single accessory available via Costco to work with this technology, which is their TV connector, and you'll be able to pick it up for around $99. For me, this is a no-brainer to add this to your toolbox, as it will allow your TV to stream the sound directly from the television to your hearing aids, which will mean no more subtitles for you. Why are you here today? I mean, don't get me wrong, I am delighted that you are, so please don't disappear over to Dr. Cliff's channel now, but I'm really keen on knowing what made you click on today's video. Is it because you're wearing the Rexton Reach hearing aids and you want to know what my thoughts are? Is it because you're not, but you're really keen and interested in buying them? Or is it because you've heard that they're the latest offering in Costco and you want to know my opinion on them? If your reason, yes, if your reason for being here today is any of the above, then you're in the right place. As Rexton's newest family of hearing aids, the Reach, was released in February 2024. And as of July, you'll find them in Costco US for an incredibly affordable price. Meaning that if you head through those big old Costco warehouse doors, you'll now have the choice between the Philips HearLink 9040s, the Jabra Enhanced Pro 20s, and now the Rexton Reach. So today I'll give you a full review on these little powerhouses, plus the lowdown on their improvements over and above Rexton's previous hearing aid tech, the Bicors. For those of you that don't know already, Rexton hearing aid technology is built by WSA, who are the same manufacturers that make both Widex and Signia hearing aids, so have a strong presence in the hearing technology world. I've been very interested to see the results of a recent poll that I put out there on YouTube, asking those of you that wear Costco fitted hearing aids which brand you're wearing. And these were the results. And they're very obvious, and I'm keen on knowing about you watching me today. Yes, you. Firstly, I would love for you to share with me which make of hearing aid you're wearing, plus why you chose that particular make. Drop me a note in the comments beneath today's video, as this will help me to focus my attention on the videos that you want going forwards. So the big question is, why am I so delighted that Rexton have updated their hearing aid technology to these, the new Reach hearing aids? Well, the thing is, yes, the Bicors were strong hearing aids and they had a few unique standout features, such as their dual processor technology, My Voice 2.0 and their Sound Pro 2.0, all aiming at better hearing in noise, but they weren't without their issues, with quite a few patients reporting the likes of Bluetooth connectivity issues, some reporting that their custom programs were disappearing from the app, and then there was the occasional inconsistency report with their reliability. So the big question is, what have Rexton done to resolve all of these issues? Well, they've built the reaches, haven't they? And they've listened to the feedback from both you guys watching and your audiologists. And it appears that they've addressed some of the technical shortcomings of the Bicore by developing some new advanced features. And in my opinion, provided a more reliable, user-friendly and higher performing hearing aid. So I'll start today by taking you on a physical tour of them, and then I'll delve into what's going on inside. At the time of making this video, the Rexton Reach is technically available in two different models. We have the Rexton RLIT and the Inox CIC Li. However, if you're planning on having them fitted in Costco, then you'll only have access to the RLIT receiver and canal model. So this is where I'll be focusing all of my attention today. Out of the two, incidentally, it's the most feature-packed, supporting rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, which gives an unbelievable wear time of up to 39 hours without streaming. And then it's still, even with 5 hours of streaming, 34 hours, which I'm pretty sure is an industry record that's currently only rivaled by Signia. And then the T represents the fact that it has a built-in telecoil, which, if you're not familiar with the benefits of a telecoil, I will run through the details later on in today's video. Taking you on a physical tour of these hearing aids, you'll notice the unit that sits behind the ear, which is fully enclosed with no battery to change. There's a rocker switch on the back, which is essentially a soft key and has a few functions, such as increasing or decreasing the volume, activating different programs, plus, you can even answer or hang up phone calls with it. These hearing aids have directional microphones, so you'll notice here we have the rear-facing microphones, and here are the ports for the forward-facing microphones. And then finally, the receiver wire, which feeds energy and information to the speaker, which sits inside your ear. Now, these hearing aids can be customized for you by changing the tip on the end, and Rexton have a selection of medical-grade silicone tips to choose from, ranging from open, closed, or power sleeves, depending on your hearing loss and also the shape and size of your ear canals. Now, while I'm on the subject of customization and personalization, one thing that I think is often overlooked is having custom tips made for the end of many users' hearing aids. And in my clinic, I tend to add them to as many hearing aids as possible when they're suitable. So, the big question is, why am I talking about this small yet very important part of the hearing aid so much? Well, believe it or not, the sound of your hearing aid will be completely transformed by changing the tip on the end of it. For example, it can affect both the clarity and sharpness that your hearing aid provides. It can affect how full and rich it sounds, how good it sounds when you're streaming from your phone or your TV, and most importantly, how well it copes in background noise. It's really easy to think that the tip is just about comfort, but it is way more important than most people realize, and I include audiologists within that as well. And it's really down to the expertise of your hearing care provider to recommend the most appropriate setup for you. I would encourage any of you watching this video today to ask your audiologist whether a custom tip is appropriate for you when they're recommending the best setup for your hearing loss and for your audiological profile. As far as colors go now, I am delighted to say that Costco normally tends to be pretty limited with their supply of colors. But in this case, I'm pleased that they've managed to persuade Rexton to provide their new hearing aids in a range of different colors. Starting off with rose gold, dark champagne, sandy brown, and then finally black. Most patients that I tend to see in clinic tend to match the color of their hair, so there should be something out there for all of you watching this video today. Now, I'm pretty sure that's everything that I wanted to mention from a physical point of view. So now we'll do a deep dive into what's going on inside these hearing aids, starting off with sound quality. However, before I do, you'll be pretty surprised to hear that 75% of the people that are watching my videos haven't yet hit the subscribe button. So if I can ask a huge favor of you today, if you've ever enjoyed my videos, then please press that subscribe button. It helps me out way more than I can say and helps me to grow the channel. And the bigger the channel gets, the better my videos will get too. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of today's video. As I mentioned earlier today, one unique feature to Rexton is the use of dual processors for improved speech clarity in the presence of background noise, which they now call multi-track processing. And I have to admit, I am a big fan of this, with its ability to process environmental sounds such as background noise separately from speech. This multi-voice processing is interwoven with their brand new multi-voice focus feature. And I'll put up on screen now an example of how this works exactly. This feature utilizes 4 focus beams to scan your environment 1,000 times per second, adapting to the changing dynamics of group conversations, and ensuring that the hearing aids are focusing on the person that you want to hear, making speech clear and recognizable, even amidst the presence of background noise. Rexton boasts that this feature constantly adapts to the changing dynamics of a conversation, boosting the prominence of those in the group who are speaking whilst keeping track of those who aren't, all without switching modes or delaying. And then when the hearing aids identify a person speaking in your near field, quite cleverly, their voice stabilizer feature kicks in, which adjusts the compression individually for each of those 4 directional beams. And Rexton are boasting that the hearing aids will then apply the appropriate compression and noise reduction for that specific person, making it easier to distinguish speech from the background noise that's going on around you. Of course, this all sounds wonderful, right? But does it work? Well, Rexton have made this impressive demo for me to include in today's video, which has been filmed in their lab's spatial sound room, which, by the way, is like heaven for me. It has 45 built-in loudspeakers that can mimic various listening situations, and this next clip is a demo from a food truck at an amusement park, which is loud, annoying, and tough to hear with sounds coming from all directions, creating a lively but particularly challenging listening environment, especially for somebody that's wearing hearing aids.
As you can hear, there are many different sounds coming from everywhere. Sounds really fun in here. So let's bring in more fun and more people to the scene to make it even harder. Hello.
Hi there.
Good to see you. Good to see
you
you.
too.
Yeah, I'm loving this festival.
Good to hear.
Yeah,
So
I had a
much
great
fun.
time.
Yeah, there's so much going on.
Good experience, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Lots
many
of
things
fun.
going on.
Yeah. And actually, I'm getting hungry.
Also, can you smell the good food?
Yeah.
So many good smells. Yeah.
So much good stuff.
Exactly.
I'm kind of up for dessert though.
Oh, yeah, you're going straight to dessert. I like that. I like that.
So that's without the multifocus program set up. If we then enable the multifocus program, this is the difference in the sound.
Let's give it a go. So I heard food, right?
Yes. Food.
Yeah, I'm really up for it now.
Yeah,
Let's
but
do it.
maybe we should visit the taco food truck first.
Taco and
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I like
and then waffles.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
For
All right,
sure, we
all
need
right.
some
That's
dessert,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Let's
I like
do
that
it.
idea. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Do we have a plan?
So what do you think? Did you hear any improvement whatsoever? In my opinion, this results in sharper and clearer hearing in the presence of background noise than we've ever seen from any of Rexton's previous technology. But that's only one feature, or that's only a few features, sorry. There are other things that Rexton have improved in this new technology too. It's pretty standard now for most hearing aids to have built-in Bluetooth, but what you might not be aware of is that the type of Bluetooth varies depending on the hearing aid that it's in. Well, I'm delighted to announce that Rexton have joined the likes of Jabra, Resound, Signia, and Oticon and included the latest version of LE audio into these new hearing aids, which I'm pretty sure is going to change your guys' listening experiences forever. And believe me, I do not say this lightly. In short, you'll see an improvement in the Bluetooth capabilities with your phone when it comes to sound quality and battery consumption. And that's whether you're listening to phone calls, the radio, music, or podcasts, all whilst keeping your phone in your pocket, giving you a truly hands-free experience. But that's not all. Where this tech will really take off is in a public venue with a built-in Auracast transmitter. This new form of transmitter is specifically designed to work with newer LE audio technology and will send any signal to your hearing aids, such as if you walk into a football stadium and want to hear the commentary, or if you walk into a train station and want to hear the train announcements, Or even if you go to a museum and you want to hear the tour guide with perfect clarity and distinction being streamed directly to both of your hearing aids. Over the next few years, it's likely that we'll see public venues installing these Auracast transmitters, and Auracast broadcasted audio will replace the century-old loop systems that are now built into public venues. This allows for multiple hearing aid users to simultaneously connect to audio in public spaces, all with this massive improvement in sound quality and significantly lower battery consumption. And you've got to trust me on this one, this is going to be an absolute game changer. Not for just those of you out there wearing hearing aids, but this will be built into headphones too. Now, something worth noting is that whilst the Reachers have got this built into their hearing aids, it hasn't yet been activated. Now, this will all be done in the future with a very simple and free firmware update in clinic with your audiologist. Does this really matter at the moment? No, because there are no public venues that yet have these Auracast transmitters. But what I will say is make sure you subscribe to this channel, because as soon as Rexton announce the update, I will publish it right here, as you will then need to head over to your audiologist to have that update performed to the hearing aids. As I mentioned earlier today, the Reach also sports a telecoil, which some manufacturers are getting rid of now. And I think this is a correct move from Rexton, because until Auracast streaming becomes mainstream, you'll still be able to connect to public venue streaming services in the likes of churches, theatres, etc., etc. In fact, anywhere where you see this sign. Now, I'm pleased that Rexton have recognised this potential lag between rolling out LE Audio and it being installed in public venues, and are still giving you access to both of these types of streaming technology in the interim. Reading between the lines now, this also tells me that Rexton aren't expecting Auracast to be implemented at any point in the near future. Now, you'll also be delighted to know that these hearing aids live up to the industry standard of an IP68 rating. And this means that they can technically be submerged in 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes and they should still function afterwards. Now, I'm definitely not suggesting going swimming wearing them, but this rating should ensure less breakdowns and more reliability. And let's face it, you want to be able to forget that you're wearing them and not have to shield them every time you go anywhere near water. Similarly to all other Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids, Rexton also have their own, and this allows you to make adjustments to the settings on your hearing aids, giving you better controls than having to press the buttons on the back of your hearing aids, or having to go back to see your audiologist every time you want changes to be made. Comparing the Rexton app to other hearing aid manufacturers' apps, it is pretty basic, but it gives you access to the standard adjustments that you might want, such as volume, boosting the bass or treble, and then changing programs. It does, however, have two unique features. The first, which allows you to change the direction of the microphones, manually pointing them forwards, backwards, left, or right, which can be useful if you want to override the automatic settings, especially in a noisy environment. And then secondly, they have their speech boost or mask mode, which boosts speech for people wearing masks, behind plexiglass, or even if they're just softly spoken. And then finally is their Rexton Assist, which is Rexton's use of AI in their hearing aids. This is pretty clever because it allows you to communicate with the app, and you can adjust the settings of your voice, background noise, and other preferences directly by communicating with the app and typing the issues that you've got. The app will then make appropriate adjustments based on your individual requests that other people around the world have made too. Rexton have also been great at recognizing where hearing aid technology alone will struggle to overcome hearing challenges, and as a result they have a range of accessories such as the Smart Mic, which is a remote microphone which, when handed to somebody, they can move up to 25 meters away, and their sound of their voice will be streamed directly to your hearing aids. The Smart Transmitter 2.4 streams the sound of your TV directly to both of your ears and is a great addition to your toolbox if you're having trouble listening to the television. And then finally, Rexton have their Smart Key, which, if you don't have a smartphone, allows you to adjust the settings on your hearing aids without having to press the button on the back of it. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this technology somewhere before. Any ideas now? Well, today I'm announcing the imminent launch of the new Philips HearLink 50 hearing aids. So stick around to learn about their new features, when you can get your hands on them, plus if they're suitable for you and your hearing loss. One of the world's largest hearing aid manufacturers, the Demont Group, who are well known for brands such as Oticon, Bernafon, and Sonic hearing aids, recently announced the release of the new Oticon Intent. This new hearing aid technology is on a brand new chip and is fully loaded with new technology, and this includes the likes of artificial intelligence, LE audio Bluetooth, motion sensors, and a ton of new features over and above their previous hearing aids, the Oticon Reels. Now, those of you out there with a keen eye may well have noticed something ever so slightly similar between the subject of today's video, the Philips HearLink 50, and the Oticon Intent. And that's because they share the same physical appearance and also some of the same technological developments inside. And I imagine that a fair number of you today will have been drawn to this video knowing that Costco US has a relationship with Demont, selling their Philips branded hearing aids. In fact, in a recent poll that I put out there on the Hearing Tracker YouTube channel, around 25% of you watching this channel purchased your hearing aids from Costco, which means that it's likely that you'll be wearing either the Jabra Enhanced Pro 20s or the Philips 9030 or 9040 family of hearing aids, and are probably keen on knowing if or indeed when the HearLink 9050s will be coming to Costco. Well, stick around as I'll share with you the details on when I think they're coming to Costco later on in today's video. Out of curiosity, I would love to know where you purchase your current set of hearing aids. Yes, you watching today. So was it at Costco? Was it at an independent audiology practice? Or perhaps it was at a chain such as Beltone or Connect Hearing? Or maybe via your ENT or the VA? Let me know in the comments beneath this video. Now, the HearLink 50s supersede the HearLink 40 family of hearing aids, which consists of a wide range of hearing aids from the HearLink MiniRite TR, which is the receiver in canal rechargeable version with a built-in telecoil, the MiniRite T, which uses a 312 disposable battery that needs changing roughly once every 5 to 10 days, their MiniRite, which is their smallest receiver in canal disposable battery hearing aid, but is missing the telecoil. And then we have their behind-the-ear hearing aids, the Mini BTE TR, which is Philips rechargeable BTE, and the Mini BTE T, which again uses a size 312 battery. And then finally, Philips have their BTE PP, which is their power behind-the-ear hearing aid. So let's you and I cover a couple of different things together today. Firstly, I'll run through this brand new Philips hearing aid design, and then we'll take a good look at what's going on inside this hearing aid technology. Now, before I start, I just need to put a warning out there so that you don't make the same mistake that I did when you start researching this hearing aid. You have to be very careful when researching the Philips 9050 hearing aids, as at first glance, one could argue that they almost look like an iron. I experienced mass confusion when reviewing the features to find steam boosts, detachable water tanks, and a record-breaking 7.5 bars of pressure, only to realize that these hearing aids share their same model numbers with other tech from Philips. So one of my first pleas today goes out to the Philips marketing department. Please work harder on your product names. So looking at the hearing aid version of the HearLink 50 series, you'll see that there have indeed been some physical changes compared with the HearLink 40 here on the left. The new design is indeed a little shorter, which I'm sure most of you will welcome if discretion is important to you. However, at the same time, it is also a fraction bulkier. Now, this does concern me a little about how they'll feel when sat on your ear, especially if they're competing for space with anybody wearing glasses. It is interesting that they've chosen a different approach to all other hearing aid manufacturers who have developed longer and narrower hearing aids, such as the new Widex Smart Ric, the Signia Stiletto, and then the Phonak Slim. Whereas the Demont Group seem to have gone with this shorter and fatter style. You'll notice in the redesign that Philips have also replaced the rocker switch with a single push button. I personally think that this is a bit of a mistake, as patients do generally tend to like a rocker switch due to its flexibility. So for me, it's a little bit of a step backwards. And whilst the buttons on hearing aids aren't as important as they used to be, because now everything can be done on the app, there are still plenty of my patients that like the flexibility to be able to use both. As far as the colours go, Philips have yet to publish any information on the colours available. However, if they're anything like the 40 series, it's likely that we'll see 6 different colours, from beige black, brown, dark grey, grey, and taupe. All the colours are matted nowadays, so they don't tend to catch the light, and normally patients tend to opt for a colour that matches their hair for maximum discretion. So that's the physical developments taken care of, which, in my opinion, is indeed a worthwhile change, as this model of hearing aid from Philips has looked the same for a couple of generations now. However, if we start to look at what's going on inside these hearing aids, this is where it gets even more interesting. As far as suitability goes, these images show the fitting ranges for the Philips HearLink 50. So if your hearing loss falls within this shaded area, then they're technically suitable for you, with the receivers being interchangeable between either a 60, 85, 100 or 105 decibel power level. Therefore, if you have either a mild, moderate, severe or profound hearing loss, they can be adapted to suit your needs, which is something that your audiologist will recommend for you depending on your specific hearing test results. As with all manufacturers of hearing aids, these are also available in various technology levels, from the 9050s, 7050s, 5050s, and the 3050s, with the former being the most advanced of all of them. Now, yes, the chip in these hearing aids is brand new, and yes, these hearing aids do have the same features that we saw in the HearLink 40s, but Philips have built on those as a foundation and added to them, starting with their Soundmap 3 feature. In the HearLink 40s, we saw the introduction of Soundmap 2 Plus, which is essentially the brain of these hearing aids, aiming at controlling background noise with the assistance of artificial intelligence. Philips are promising that Soundmap 3 will provide their best ever speech understanding in background noise, with artificial intelligence beginning to dominate the hearing aid space now as we're seeing various hearing aid manufacturers using it. Soundmap as a feature in itself has evolved over the last few generations with a few key developments. First of all, starting with extending the number of frequency bands from 16 to 24. Now, from your perspective, more frequency bands allows for an improvement in speech separation from noise, which in turn results in a greater noise reduction across frequency bands to efficiently clean speech signals in noise, utilizing their artificial intelligence noise reduction system. The next addition was their Sound Protect feature, which was introduced into the HearLink 9040s and preserves speech when it's in the presence of wind, handling, and transient noise. And then finally, the key development within Soundmap 3, so from today's hearing aids, is Sound Guide, which is all possible due to the new embedded accelerometers built within these hearing aids, which not only detect head movements by measuring changes in velocity over time, but also even understands whether the speed of movement is brief or constant. What is this? Now, if you're wondering why on earth your hearing aids may want to measure the movement of your head, Philips aren't the first company to introduce accelerometers into their hearing aids. In fact, they're actually pretty late to the party, so following the likes of ReSound, Starkey, Phonak, and of course now Oticon, and as a result, this Sound Guide feature is one of my favorite new pieces of technology built into these hearing aids. Sound Guide not only monitors your environment like previous Philips hearing aids, but also utilizes the information from these accelerometers and analyzes both your head and body movement. Philips are stating that this information is then fed into the automated directionality and artificial intelligence noise reduction systems, producing and delivering the optimal sound based on your specific listening situations. Now, whilst this does sound a little bit complicated, ultimately, from your point of view, it should mean that these hearing aids will improve your hearing in more complicated listening situations, such as busy restaurants, for example. There are some pretty wild claims coming from Philips, so let's hope that it works. As far as connectivity goes, Philips have also completely overhauled how their hearing aid tech interacts with other technology. And their SoundTie 3 feature refers to the HearLink 50's ability to connect with either Android or iOS smartphones, allowing for the streaming of either phone calls or media, such as music, the radio, or podcasts, directly from your phone to your hearing aids. This essentially allows them to act as a wireless set of headphones, but of course they're way better than that, because they also take into account your hearing loss too, giving you the appropriate sound to compensate for your individual and specific hearing loss. Now, this in itself isn't actually anything new. However, the big change comes with the introduction of LE audio. For those of you that haven't come across Alley Audio, it's a brand new Bluetooth protocol, not limited to hearing aids, but in my opinion is going to change the face of the entire planet when it comes to hearing in public places and just general wireless connectivity. In the future, you'll be able to walk into concert halls, conferences, train stations and lectures, and the sound of whoever is speaking will be directly sent to both of your hearing aids, all with the click of a button. I happen to know that all hearing aid manufacturers are working together to have this installed in their up-and-coming hearing aids. And now from today's update, this means that both ReSound, Signia, Oticon, and Philips will now give you access to Alley Audio on their latest technology. In my opinion, this means that in the next few years, we'll start to see Auracast audio replace the century-old loop systems built into public venues, which is actually regulation now, and will allow for multiple hearing aid users to simultaneously connect to audio in those public spaces, all with an improvement in sound quality and significantly lower battery consumption. Now, there is a downside, and that's that at the moment, this is only useful when they've started to install these transmitters, and it's not really common practice yet. So I do think that it will be quite some time before we start to see this tech taking off. Now, moving on to their rechargeability updates, we've recently seen some big advances from the likes of Signia, Widex, and Starkey with their rechargeability, with battery capacities increasing to over 30 hours on a single charge. And whilst Philips have made improvements to their rechargeability, they've taken a slightly different approach now. By increasing the size of their battery, a single charge will now only take 2 hours, rather than the 3 that we've seen in previous technology from them. And if you fall asleep on the sofa one night and forget to put them on charge, the next morning you can supercharge them for 15 minutes, which will give you 4 hours of usage. Or if you can make that 30 minutes, they'll last for 8 hours in total. And also, with this battery development, Philips are pretty confident that there should be an improvement in their longevity too, with the batteries in these hearing aids lasting up to 4 to 5 years. Now, of course, the other big question that pops into my head is why have they not brought out a disposable battery version? Phonak made the same mistake with their Lumity hearing aids and have only recently brought out the 312 disposable battery version. According to a recent Hearing Tracker YouTube poll, around 33% of hearing aid users prefer disposable batteries over rechargeable hearing aids. So my concern is Philips have potentially alienated a third of the people watching this video now. Now, I do indeed have my suspicions as to why this may be, and it's actually pretty concerning. Phonak also use motion sensors in their hearing aids, but they're only available in the rechargeable version due to the battery power that's needed to get this technology to work. If this new Philips technology is the same, and their major development in these hearing aids is the sound guide feature, which uses those accelerometers, does that potentially mean that this feature will be stripped away from a disposable version of the HearLink 50 series? I'll keep you posted on this subject as soon as they start to roll out the rest of the family of these hearing aids, and I know a little bit more information. I would love to know in the comments in this video, would that stop you from buying them? Are you personally a disposable hearing aid battery user, or do you use rechargeable batteries? Now for the information that you've all been waiting for. Will, and more importantly, when will these hearing aids be available in Costco? Well, if history is anything to go by, the Oticon More was released in January 2021, and its Philips counterpart arrived in Costco later on that year. Then we saw the release of the Oticon Real in March 2023, followed by the release of the Philips 9040 into Costco in April 2023. So, if the Demont Group continue along the same trend, having seen the release of the Oticon Intent on the 27th of February this year, 2024, it's possible that the Philips HearLink 9050s will be hitting Costco shelves within the next few weeks. As soon as I know any more, you'll be the first to find out, so subscribe to stay updated. Now, if you're interested in knowing exactly how similar these hearing aids are to Demont's other release, the Oticon Intents, then you have to watch this video.